I also saw a really funny comment like on all these tweets about this. It was like a picture of the chart of all the zombie blockchains, and someone's like, WTF, where'd they get a screenshot of my portfolio?
Welcome back, episode 26 of Internet Explorers. We're live every Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific time, 1 p.m. Eastern. We dive into all the happenings in the space for that week and beyond. I get very excited. People are telling me they're coming to Internet Explorers for alpha, and I don't realize how in the weeds you have that and how much you love that. Hopefully, we have in the today. And see if joining us right now. Got a lovely co-host, Gaby, stepping in for Josh, bringing the vibes.
Big shoes to fill. And I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Excited. I continue to tease that we actually get to go do a show or a podcast. We've done a few things in the past, but it never seems like quite enough. So excited to spend the hour here with you today.
Yes.
And of course, we've got Peace Note on the buttons and the clicking. How we doing, Peace?
Doing super good.
How are your runes?
The runes are chock full of lore. They're being mined and listed in the books. Yeah, I got a salad. Life is good. You got a camera that works. What more could I ask for?
I love it. The soup to salad evolution here. Standard soup salad evolution.
It's summertime, baby.
Oof, I love that. That's the thing. All right. So big show today. Big list. There's some exciting news about FarCon that we're going to dive into. So make sure you stay tuned for that. It's rapidly getting out of hand. That event is going to be like, I don't know. I am feeling for the organizers who are in the midst of the final stages of preparing for that. It's something that has just gone bigger and bigger and bigger. Of course, we have some fun stuff planned there, so we're excited to dive in there. But I want to kick it off because we have the pleasure of being deep in the weeds with our SEO7 teams. We're I think 3 or 4 weeks in right now. The speed of shipping, the things that are coming out of that group are just incredible. And so over the next couple of weeks, we're going to be bringing some of those folks on to share what they're working on and give you all an early look. And today we're kicking that off with Lisa Foundation and a fun drop they're doing here. So instead of me introducing all this stuff, let's bring the crew up here if we have them. Got Ilya. We got Mr. Render himself.
Maybe I should be horizontal.
Yeah, that works. All right. So Ilya's one of the co-founders of Lisa Foundation. And, I think maybe just to set the stage here a little bit, and I'll let you guys dive in a little bit more deeply because there's a lot going on. But I think at C Club, we've been very excited about how networks change the world broadly. And, I think we're early into experimenting with things like social tokens and NFTs and DAOs. And I think one of the big lessons we learned from sort of the DAO wave was that there was this deep desire to be a part of something. There was this deep desire to experience the joys of ownership, but there wasn't a huge lot of love for the hard work that goes in and maybe the bureaucracy that goes into it. And so when we started to chat with the Lisa team, what we saw here was sort of an evolution of that narrative, one that kind of puts the idea of coming together as a community and participating in a journey in a way that is a lot more fun and gives sort of ownership experiences, not ownership responsibilities. So that's at least my interest in what Lisa is doing. And I think sounds like you guys have a first drop that you're coming out with here with another. I mean, we have such a deep Canadian connection here that I love that we have a Canadian artist on the show here today. So maybe I'll throw it to you, Ilya. Why don't you give us a bit of an introduction and we can dive in.
For sure. Thanks for having me. It's really fun. So my name is Ilya. I'm based in London. Yeah, we've been experimenting with things around art for quite some time, kind of figuring out how we can build this platform for people to own art together. It's a very simple idea. We really want to see more people coming into the art world. We want to see more people collecting art on a level that previously wasn't possible. So, we built Lisa. It's live now. It's actually opening up this week. We've been under the closed beta for a long time. So, really excited to finally open the doors. And probably couldn't have a better partner in this than FVCKRENDER here. We're going to be doing incredible drop next week. Fred is having his first solo show during Freeze New York. We're going to be opening the gallery on 2nd of May. It's show going to be called Ascend, and he's presenting an insane show with Carlo McCormick opening this up. And one of the sculptures in the show will be owned by the collective, so you can either access it online or come to a show, and we're going to be doing like tons of stuff around that. But I'll stop here.
Cool. Well, so I've had this deep urge to call you Mr. Render for some reason. I don't know where that's coming from right now, but we're gonna roll with it because
I'll take it.
That's what we do, Mr. Rest. But you've been a prolific artist in the crypto art space for a number of years now. At least you've been on my radar for that long, and I think have seen you experiment with a number of sort of emerging structures. I guess everything from the more traditional NFT drops into ones that I would say actually step into more of a community token sort of world building type thing. And so it was cool to see you come out with sort of, but I know there's a whole big physical piece background that you have as well. And maybe that's where you sort of have come from. So curious if you can maybe if people are just learning about you, give a little bit of intro. I think most people here probably have heard of you, but I'm very curious about sort of the current collection you're working on.
Yeah. I have this solo show in New York called Ascend. And why I called it Ascend is because I'm natively a digital artist, right? I started with digital art. I grew up with a family computer in my bedroom. So just to tell you how native digital I was, that's the most digital you can be. But I was not really interested in art before. I mean, I've always been interested in art, but I never knew what my medium was. And I discovered 3D art through a bike accident I had. And I was just depressed, and I needed to find a way to occupy my mental state, right? Because I'm a very agitated, hyperactive person. So I decided just to learn digital art in general, and I never really wanted to work in that field. I just wanted to do art and just use it as a journal or a diary journal. So the reason why I call the show Ascend is because I'm ascending to a more physical state. So where most of the pieces during that show are physical. They all come with NFTs. Yeah, that's my boy.
I think I had that.
Yeah. They all come with NFTs. But the goal is I want to make, to me, it makes sense, physical art that comes with a proof of ownership that is on chain. It doesn't make any sense to me to have a fucking paper at my place. If my place burned down, I lose everything. So there's a value in my head to have a proof of authenticity on the blockchain. So yeah.
I'm curious, what was your sort of the thing that got you over the line to work with Lisa? What's being unlocked there that is exciting to you?
Yeah, I really like the concept of just having this big sculpture, allowing me to make that big sculpture that will be owned by 300 people, and they will get they'll get an NFT with a sign print, which just the price of that pays for the print is technically worth more than what the price people will pay for the whole package, in my opinion. So I just think it's cool because it allows me to go a little bit more crazy and do something a little bit bigger, something that I wouldn't necessarily have done by myself. So yeah,
love it. Ilya, I'm curious what you imagine happening. So you're creating the space where there's a small community can come together and co-own this. But it feels like that's just kind of the starting point. They're what do you sort of hope, dream, imagine will happen as you bring these people together in the digital space?
Yeah, for sure. Thinking about that, there is so much we can do together, right? I love this example of Peggy Guggenheim, who was buying one artwork a day, and no one really can do something like that today, but collectively we actually can. So we can support artists on their journeys, whether it's creating monumental sculptures or bidding on auctions, joining the gallery. and do it not in a way when like artists needs to change their supply strategies. They don't need to create like, huge editions. It's really integrated into how they work and how they approach the art world. But like the end stage was this is really something we've been calling state of the art. And we kind of have this concept of, in the world where network state exists, we can build this layer, which is called state of the art, where people own artworks which are publicly displayed around the world, and they decide where those artworks go and like what's happening. And what we're doing with Fred, like really inspiring to the team, really, because like he starts this journey into the physical art world, and we can like bring all the tech that we have and truly bring people around it.
I love it. Piece, you want to just go back to the piece itself, because I think there's the one specific one that is coming up with Lisa drop. You might need to go to their website to see it. It's a green image, I think, right? Oh, I think we need to.
Maybe jump on Twitter.
Yeah.
Lisa.
Yeah. I like that piece. Also, we worked with the color code of Porsche, which is Irish green. So we're using the actual Porsche color, like automatic paint on this. So it's as beautiful as a 1970 Targa. That was the vision there.
I like this idea of sort of co-owning art that gets to go be displayed publicly as well. There's something kind of cool there, and some social dynamics that emerge around it. All right, so pre-sale is up now. The drop is next week. Lots of stuff happening there. Where can people go and either participate or at least follow along for now?
Yeah, for sure. Like follow us on Twitter, Instagram, like Farcaster, probably like best sources. I am practically chilling about this thing like all day long. But also make sure you register at Lisa Foundation, and you will receive everything in the email. It will be super effortless to buy. If you're in New York, come join us at the gallery. We'll be posting where it is and what's happening. It's 2nd of May to 4th of May. And then we're also planning like a little private collector hour, some cocktails with Fred, and some other things as well. If you're at FarCon, as most of you are probably will be, you can still join us during the Freeze Week. We'll be meeting Amanda Baldwin, another artist from our roster, for her new show, and like she'll be talking about her new art, etc. So like just follow us everywhere and make sure you're registered.
There's a super sneaky group chat that you may be able to get in. There's only 300 of these things available. It's going to go fast. Appreciate you guys hopping on, Mr. Render. I wish you the best. Ilya, we'll see you next week in LA, and good luck.
Thank you so much, guys,
for having us. Thank you.
Take care.
Oh yeah. I mean, the energy of that team is truly palpable. Like they're just on fucking fire, and like that. My Telegram DMs are representative of that every single day. So I absolutely love it. I think it's really interesting. We've talked on the show a bunch, I think, to sort of looking back at the evolution of various narratives in crypto. And I really feel like we're on this sort of next wave of where the intentions around DAOs were, but maybe and overcoming some of sort of the really meaningful barriers of bureaucracy, like the challenge of actually getting stuff done in those sort of groups. And I think it's going to be a fun thing to see come to life, what the evolution of those ideas create. But let's get into this absurd list. Gaby, are you going to be in FarCon next week?
I will be there. I had a scare. My pass was in my spam, and I almost didn't mint it. And so I'm using this opportunity to say public thank you to Ted for saving my ass and opening it up to let me still mint it. But I'm so excited for it, truly. And it's so cool that it's basically like volunteer community driven conference. So like, I don't even think conference is the right word, but just
can we bring up
this gathering?
The FarCon website, because I think, Gaby, you called out a couple of like the team has really tried to do this in a very Farcaster integrated way. And I think you sort of had some thoughts on the cool factor there.
Yeah. So I have a tweet that I saw that most of these thoughts are coming from, which is Winnie. I can drop it in the chat if we can't find it, but Winnie had a really good tweet about, FarCon sign up flow and organization. Other Winnie. Let me drop the tweet. Both are great though.
Yeah.
This one. Basically, the sign up flow and the whole organization of the event, just showing how crypto primitives can really be embedded into every step of the consumer journey, just like baked into the product experience from start to finish. So, I mean, it starts with you apply, and if you get your pass, you mint the FarCon pass through Unlock protocol. To buy the pass, you can pay with USDC on Base, or you can pay with mainnet ETH, and it gets converted in one click through an integration with Decent, which, by the way, like, Decent is just cooking. I'm running into it on basically every consumer product experience I've been having. And I know they're doing something with Enjoy also, kind of like one click to swap to Enjoy. Super, super cool. Just seamlessly baked into the product experience. And then RSVPing to different events, they're gated based on if you have the FarCon pass, as well as other on-chain communities you're a part of. On that note, I don't know if they're gating based on off-chain information as well, but I'm pretty sure Raz from Guild is in the chat, if that's the person I think is commenting. And like other communities in crypto often use Guild for token gating, and you can gate based on not just on-chain information, but also off-chain information, like what you've done on Twitter or Telegram communities you're a part of and things like that. And specifically the combination of the two is pretty interesting. And then obviously approvals to different events that you're going to are airdropped as NFTs. And I wouldn't be surprised if there are POAPs at FarCon for proof of attendance that you actually went to those events.
Oh, they're happening.
So yeah, it's very cool to see. It's also just very full circle. I know we're going to talk about Bright Moments later too, but both Farcaster and Bright Moments, like I got on Farcaster when I was living in Venice. Honestly, it was like getting into crypto, living in Venice, minting my crypto Venetian. And it's so crazy to see it all come so full circle. So yeah, I'm very excited for it.
Yeah, it's cool. I think the FarCon team's using events.xyz, which is also like the Farcaster native events platform. That I think just, we're seeing what happens when you can go build something natively in an open social world. And the team's like, I think it's going to feel kind of awkward in the short period, but like as these things evolve, there's going to be some superpowers like unlocked. And I think what you shared there is kind of like an early look at what that might look like, just being able to bring all this data in to actually create, unique experiences. I think to me, this is the opportunity of Farcaster and Lens and open social is just that we have all this data that's no longer gated, and therefore developers can go in and do cool things with it. And I think we're just seeing the beginning of teams really figuring that out. We got some teams in SEO7 that are really running at that we're very excited about. So data may be the important part of all the sort of open social stuff that's happening. So I want to make sure that I call it a few things before we move on. C Club's very, very excited to bring the consumer crypto channel is hosting free Wi-Fi. Kind of becoming a big thing. We've got free Wi-Fi in the day, which is going to be like it's an unconference type thing. We have a bunch of talks that are happening with our partners Archetype and Xerion, sponsoring some rooms. We have Syndicate, Boost, Mirror. I think the announced coffee guys are coming. Slow Rodeo, one of the SEO6 teams is there. Word on the street is there's some Enjoy merch. There's going to be a whole bunch of fun things on the ground floor. This is 3 floors. It's going to be incredible. We also have a party afterwards called airplane mode at night, free Wi-Fi during the day, airplane mode at night. The team did a walkthrough the other day. It's just too good. Peace has been cooking up some incredible, art around this stuff too. I share this knowing that we have like hundreds of applicants already. It's kind of going to be tough to get everybody in. So if you haven't applied yet and you want to come, please do. But also just kind of a warning that it's kind of getting popular. I always feel like a deep sense of anxiety around these things, Gabby. I'm like, it quickly goes from there, like, oh my God, is anybody going to show up? Oh, I hope
it's FarCon's hottest club.
I hope 11 people show up, and now it's like hundreds of people. So that's going to be cool. And also just announcing here today, live on Internet Explorers, we're doing our first live recording of Internet Explorers next Friday morning at 10 a.m. Pacific time in the same venue, the venue that FarCon's main event's going to be in, and free Wi-Fi. to host it there. So we're going to let people know about that. But love for you. I don't know what that's going to feel like to actually have to look at people as we're talking. That's like not my experience here. I just feel like the ether is paying attention right now. But kind of excited to do it. So if you're going to be in LA, you want to come hang out with us for a live recording, it's going to be, we'll share more about that in the next little while. So lots happening. Very excited. It's going to be a crazy week. Shout out to the organizers who are just really in the depths of this right now, bringing things together.
Yeah, live update from Ryan. He says we're good on capacity, so come on down.
Get on in there, baby.
Yeah.
Let's go. I was trying to make it sound cool, piece. We're probably oversubscribed. It's probably oversubscribed.
But there's lots of room outside. Venice is big.
It's a big thing. Cool.
It's not that big. I don't know how big Venice is.
I mean, I'm honest. It's reasonably large. I mean, LA is kind of big, so we can just kind of spill over. We can spill.
Beautiful.
And I get to see you, Gabby. That's exciting. It's been too long.
It's going to be amazing. It's been way too long.
Okay, well, let's jump into the other topics today. I think we're missing a topic here. I wanted to talk about VCs versus meme coins.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I guess it kind of goes into treat.
It does. It's the whole thing. Did you see my trend? I was trying to lead us a trend down here.
What?
I mean, I love that. So this thread actually is what made me, I love Twitter. Thank you for Twitter. Really, I've kind of been on a bit of like a fuck Twitter kick for the last little while because just let us share links, Elon. Let us share links and get distribution. That's all we need from you, buddy. You can do all your other weird shit. Just give us some links. But this made it worthwhile. I think if we sort of zoom out, there's obviously, and we talked on the show a number of times, just sort of this like debate: are meme coins good? Are meme coins bad? We're seeing the A16Z crew really kind of lean into meme coins equal bad for crypto. This is actually spawned, I think, a reply to a tweet from, if you want to scroll up a bit, I think from Ryan Dempsey, Michael Dempsey, because I knew I was going to get the first name wrong, talking about sort of like the disillusionment people are having around tokens. The idea here being real builders don't want to build meme coins. They want to build tokens with true utility. And they're getting sort of fed up with like VCs and the crypto Twitter folks being super stoked on meme coins. And Eddie from the CTO from A16Z jumped in and kind of made that point a little bit more explicitly. But to me, it was interesting to see the replies to it because I think it kind of like articulated the two worldviews that live here. And one being that meme coins are bad and utility is good. And, I think we saw Chris Dixon with a post in the Financial Times this week. But here Eddie's post, besides undermining the long-term vision of crypto that has kept so many of us in the space, meme coins aren't actually that interesting. And I think that's sort of like one camp, right? And I get it. It's, there's, I think, bigger opportunities that crypto networks can bring to the table. But the replies, I think, actually chart sort of the other path here, or at least the current reality. And I think Jesse's from Varied has been pretty vocal about this in a way, and I think kind of push back on, I think, what a lot of people and what we're seeing in many of our communities are just basically saying that, well, we actually think that meme coins are a heck of a lot less disruptive or sort of detrimental than the vaporware VC-backed projects that are purporting to have utility, being launched with high FDVs, really being seen more as like a game that you win by being super early and or being the team. And that, maybe crypto investors generally are just getting a bit smarter or kind of, over the bullshit. And so to me, this feels like 2016 US election time again, where there's the Democratic Party, the establishment sitting up here saying, this is the way the world should be. And you guys are all deplorables for not being any other way. And the rest of like the people who are actually buying and consuming these tokens being like, yeah, fuck that. And we're going to vote in a different worldview here. But I know you and I haven't had a chat about meme coins, so I'm curious where your reaction to all of this is.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely get both sides. So I guess like Eddie's point, I don't want to speak for him, but I think his camp is more like, who are the customers in crypto? They're developers. And so working on things that are technically interesting, like that's what serves the real customer in the space, which I understand. But at the same time, meme coins aren't very technically interesting. I'm not sure if that's a strong enough argument because things that are technically interesting or philosophically important are not always the things that end up mattering. I think like privacy is a good example outside of crypto. For so long, people have tried to convince themselves, or people will say, you know, I care about privacy, and their actions don't necessarily mirror that. Like they will consistently use applications or services where their data isn't private because maybe the framework is like convenience over quality. They would just rather use something that provides them the best product or consumer experience, and they'll make personal sacrifices for them to use that thing. Like I would put myself in that camp. I think decentralization is also similar. Mm-hmm. And in a lot of like, I love crypto, I work in crypto, but in a lot of cases, I also sacrifice decentralization if there's a better product experience somewhere else. And so just because meme coins are not technically interesting, they are interesting in a lot of other ways. And I think what they are a good example of is just like attention being the name of the game and distribution being really important. And you talked about that a lot last week with Brian. And I think it's super true. And like, I guess the question is like where you go from there. Like when you have the attention, how do you kind of like drive that down the funnel to be interesting? Or are you just being honest that that's all it is? And I think that's kind of how it relates to Treat, which like, I don't have a ton of comments on because I didn't know about it until you put the link. But yeah, I guess like my last thought is that at the end of the day, I don't think it's really up for VCs to decide what is interesting or not interesting for consumers. And so if anything, it's the opposite. Like the things that do end up being highly interesting, those breakout consumer behaviors are usually at first the things that make you want to kind of pull back or look away and push back against it. And instead, and I have to remind myself of this all the time, like you have to make yourself really like double click. The things that you might be allergic to at first are actually usually become something very interesting.
Yeah, I agree. I think I mean, the underlying question, and I guess I see both of these worlds emerging, right? Or maybe there's three worlds emerge, right? There's we're going to go build incredible networks that create incredible value and distribute ownership to them. Great. The question is still how, right? And I don't think that's figured out. And I think there's a lot of other challenges that come along with that, especially if a lot of these projects have been privately funded for a very long time and the users feel like they haven't been able to participate in that value creation alongside the founders or alongside the VCs. And I think that's the reality of most of the sort of DeFi token launches that we've seen over the last little while, and the lack of interest in them after they sort of hit the market. But I also think, you know, a lot of regulatory challenges around that. And I think Chris's post in the Financial Times is very right. Like we need a pathway to sort of unlock that path. And I think it comes back to something that looks more like ICOs, frankly, than the world that we're in right now. And, you know, maybe we get there. Obviously, we talked about that last week. Two, I think there are these sort of purely attention-driven tokens, pure meme coins. They're going to be the branded stuff. They're going to be, you know, the 99.9% of them will go to zero, but that 0.1% will go to a couple $1 billion and be huge popular things. Dogecoin, Shiba, yada, yada. Kind of every cycle has a breakout one or two. And then three, I think the one that's at least far more interesting to me is like, well, what if these tokens are tokens as a go-to-market, tokens as attention getting that create a platform for launching and building something that has more long-term sustainable value? And that to me is the interesting thing. We're calling it internally, and this is based on a tweet that John Palmer shared, but the idea of sort of thin protocols and fat tokens. You know, the idea that you can kind of integrate in and really leverage a lot of like the open source tools or open applications or protocols that are out there, but that the sense of identity and belonging and participation and attention that tokens can capture and drive actually might be the place where a lot of that value is captured. And I think that leads into the next topic here with Treat. And it's something that I think we've seen, you know, it happens once, kind of cool. You start to see it happen again. I think this is the early part of a trend. So this is a sort of post from Andrew, who's been a big meme coin bull. And Treat is I guess it's a layer 2 that's coming out of the Shiba ecosystem. I started reading this thing and it had so many crypto buzzwords in the beginning that I was just like, okay, I don't actually care maybe what this protocol or network is. I think that the thing that's interesting is that this, you know, it's an example of sort of tokens being the go-to-market, the community builder, and then them sort of backing into something that theoretically has more fundamental value, like this idea of a network that, you know, it sounds like it has some technical implementations that are new and novel, or at least pushing the boundaries a little bit. Conceptually, it's interesting, right? I think it's what we saw with DGen go from pure Farcaster meme coin into, scene coin into an L3. And I think we're seeing this with Shiba going into Treat. And my guess is we're going to see many, many, many more as the cost and availability of running your own network actually goes down, whether that's an L2 or an L3. And I put that up against thinking about everybody who's launched these L2s as infrastructure first versus having the actual community involved and thinking about how they actually go to market and get people to build on it. I think it's a monumental and probably like impossible task for the vast majority of them. So this is very, very interesting to me. And I think it's a sign of things to come.
It's also very interesting thinking about it maybe in the context of Base is a good example of L2s or ecosystems or like pieces of infrastructure needing to have brands or mimetic value to gain attention or usage or whatever you want to call it. And so like Base has done such a good job of this, of like, you don't just build on Base, but like that makes you based. There's like an identity associated with it. And I think tokens are a helpful way of ascribing an identity, like a piece of an identity to someone of like, I'm a part of this ecosystem, and you can actually quantify that with something.
100% agree. I think, these are commodities at the end of the day. Block space is a commodity. It's increasingly so. And so, the decision to sort of, where to align oneself, where to build, I think comes down to something that's closer to identity, closer to fashion, than it comes down to, the technical implementation. Especially with so many of these things are driven, and if we get to it, zombie chains, it's driven by liquidity. It's driven by where people are actually, liquidity of attention and liquidity of the actual capital that's there to go do things. And we might say it's been pretty easy to roll an L2 or an L3 today, but the infrastructure that goes into actually making that like a place where it's effortless to build and to issue tokens and to do things is still a pretty big lift. So there's still a big barrier to that. And I think having a community and a set of like built-in builders that want to go do that is kind of big. And, we were part of the build on DGen week last week, and they just announced their grant recipient winners this morning. I think if you go to the Syndicate Twitter feed, you'll be able to see that. But again, it's just sort of like some of the early, having 300 teams apply, a number of them have products out deploying there. It's a thing that a lot of LTs are working very, very hard to even get a small sliver of. So I think it's big. I mean, but I'm just talking my bag. We've been on this case for a long time. Okay, let's move on. Rediclio, the only appropriate word I could use to define.
It's a good name for it.
Yeah. So this was, I was like, I've sent this a few times. This is was clearly a marketing moment for Polymarket. The idea being that the intern got fired for saying a word that is not appropriate, and Susan from HR issued this letter, and it had all sorts of twists and turns, right? It's people outraged. It's the intern getting supported with a big Solana grant from a top trader, because he got fired and wanted, it's the fight for free speech. It plays right into this sort of like space that I think, is generally considered as sort of like the woke side and getting sort of triggered around it. I think it left many people on crypto Twitter saying that, there we go, there's Susan from HR. I really hope that's an AI generated image and not a real human being, that they just co-opted for this absurdity. But I sort of have like two takeaways from this. Like, one, it's sort of, if we're talking about identity, we're talking about brand, and we're talking about community, and we're talking about people who are here right now, this is playing to that market so directly. And I think it makes, most reasonable people somewhat uncomfortable about it. But it's very clear, or at least maybe I'll just own it for myself. It makes me slightly uncomfortable. I couldn't imagine C Club wanting to ever play into this sort of like the edge of crypto Twitter in this way that actually got so much attention, sort of like a trade-off that I wouldn't be willing to make. And yet at the same time, incredibly effective. Took over Twitter for a day and a half. There's intern accounts. There's Hugo doing his thing. Like, becomes a big thing. So I'm very curious to see what the conversation in Polymarket was around the idea to go do this. I think it is, again, comes from this idea of like, Gabby, I'm big into golf. right now. I don't know if I've updated you on that just yet, but we have a
You told me about that brand that I need to buy something from.
Yes. I talk about it often. You can probably see my club, so now you can't. But anyways, not the point. The point is that there's a saying that says, play it as it lies, right? So you got to deal with the ball as it is and sort of step through it. And I feel like that's kind of like some teams are sort of resigning themselves to the fact, and maybe some VCs are resigning themselves to the fact that you kind of got to play the ball as it lies in crypto right now, or at least there's a bunch of value to do it. I don't know. You have thoughts?
It's just another good example that so much of crypto marketing lies on Twitter. There was actually a tweet from John Woo, I'm not just remembering, that is a good reminder of this. And he's been tweeting a lot about, like, quote unquote, you don't need a CMO. And he's saying it's much easier to convert a Web 2 engineer into Web 3 than a Web 2 marketer into Web 3. And the types of things that people care about and value in terms of community building and marketing and driving narrative and things like that, it's like a whole different world in crypto. And I guess I'm curious, like, what the ecosystem is going to look like when we've grown beyond crypto Twitter, if that ever happens. And it also, like, not to move on too quickly, but it kind of leads into the next thing that we're going to talk about, of kind of, you know, how do you find distribution in other unique, potentially more crypto native places to acquire users? And like right now, so much of crypto is just top of funnel, kind of like what we just saw in the last example, to drive you down to something else, but you're like moving from one platform over to another. And yeah, you're seeing some new like crypto native distribution tools crop up.
Yeah,
that are potentially better.
John's been on fire. Oh, go ahead, please.
I was going to say, it's just, I really like this tweet on brand risk or something, but part of it really reminds me of like that meme where the conventionally attractive person says something and it's all cool, and then the like fat weird nerd says something and it's like super not cool. And it's like such a gamble that you're taking when you go on to like play in these truly like troll box spaces as a brand. And I mean, the gambling platform was the right one to do that. Probably not every platform is, but that was it was a smart move to play in
it's
that
so
space.
True. Like, not to over intellectualize it, but how different is this from Pepsi and that other Web2 brand saying GM to each other a couple years ago?
Oh, that was so cool. Oh my God. I just love the web traditional brands coming into crypto so clearly. Yeah, I think John's tweet was, I mean, it's been on fire lately, but the one around the CMO is big. I think, Ben from our team got into it with Dan a little bit last week around the role of marketing, et cetera. I think it actually led to a bunch of interesting conversations, but yeah, I don't think you can separate that. Like your team and your founders and, the people who are behind these things need to be up in and of the culture you're building to. We put a big lens around founder product fit, and at least in what we're looking for in the work that we do at Seed Club. And there was a big wave in sort of the last bull market of people coming this sort of Silicon Valley. Crypto's a good way for me to go raise money, so I'm going to go add a little bit of crypto on it. And I think we're very skeptical of that, and I think that's proven to be true in most of the cases. So got to be in and of the culture, but also important to think that I don't think this is the totality of the culture. It's just played into one sort of segment very well. There are a lot of other people out here who are in for other reasons, but I don't know. That was fascinating. And Godspeed to Susan. I hope she lands on her feet well somewhere. And also, to me, I wasn't going to define Polymarket as like the crypto gambling platform. Like, it felt like they were like the majority of like the volume on that platform is through political focused prediction markets. This may be more of a pumped up fun thing than a. Yeah,
it was actually like more degen than I was expecting from the team.
Me too. All right, well, let's move on to integrate. Gaby wrote a great post. You're holding on to this post images. What are we calling these things?
Screenshot essay.
Screenshot essay thing.
I can't post links, but then I got all these comments being like, nice essay, but the font size was too small. So sorry about that.
It's only for Gen Zers. Give me a break.
You
don't get to it.
Yeah. I feel like a good theme of everything we've been talking about is like attention and the means of attention and ways that people gather in crypto. And it's a piece of this, which is basically, first, I got another good piece of feedback, which is like, how do you define a successful company, which is what I wrote at the top. And maybe I would just say large companies in crypto as a better descriptor, but I've noticed that a lot of large companies in crypto are trending towards vertically integrating their own products. So instead of using a different wallet for their users or going to a different exchange, they're kind of building their own versions of those things, whether they're white labeled or fully in-house. And then the whole stack is kind of vertically integrated into the consumer experience, and the consumer journey is really smooth. So I had noticed this happening a couple of years ago with things like Reservoir and FirstMate as basically NFT liquidity aggregators, where people could spin up their own secondary marketplaces, leveraging the aggregated liquidity of kind of like NFTs far outside of their marketplace. And then you could kind of build, a branded vertical marketplace for your NFT collection that it was just a much cooler and cleaner product experience. And basically since then, we've seen that in a lot of other places. Coinbase is definitely the best example, but it's not even like they've been doing it for that long, like Base is pretty new, but they started with the centralized exchange, and now they have Base. They have not just Coinbase Wallet as a service, but also now the Coinbase Smart Wallet. They have USDC on Base, and they obviously have this massive ecosystem layered underneath. And you're kind of seeing it in smaller forms with other companies like Uniswap creating its own wallet. They didn't necessarily need to do that. There are lots of other wallets you can use to use Uniswap, but it's a much cleaner product experience when it's all integrated in one. And I didn't include, I was kind of showing other examples in the bottom paragraph. I didn't include distribution, but honestly, like Brian on the pod last week, he kind of gave a perfect example of it, of basically like Boost is kind of like this layer of the stack for distribution, or like I would say layer 3 or Party, or even Farcaster's social graph. Like those are all good examples of like a piece of the stack that you can leverage for distribution. I included some examples of wallets that are doing that, and then like liquidity aggregators. And yeah, it's very interesting. Like, I don't know totally what to think about it, because I think the beauty of crypto is that you have all of these building blocks that you can kind of permissionlessly integrate. But I also understand, like, if you want to build a consumer business that is super clean and super easy for the consumer, it's helpful to have it all in one place. So
what stood out to me there was that there were some examples of very successful integrations and examples of not successful integrations. I think like the Uniswap wallet is underperformed, I think, based on I think what they had hoped that would be. And I think it did so because it took them a while to bring it out, and the meta or the tech had kind of moved on. I think if they came out with something like Capsule or Privy, or kind of in the sort of embedded wallet world, that would have been a much, and so I think there's like a lot of challenge in doing this. And it speaks to kind of the genius and effectiveness of what Coinbase is up to, because they seem to be on the front edge of a lot of that stuff. Also speaks to like maybe having enough scale and attention of the actual users to not need to be first, but to be able to like integrate really well afterwards, which I would say their smart wallet is kind of an example of. And I guess you're seeing this in sort of like, DYDX doing their own chain, and you can kind of imagine the sort of horizontal integration that happens there as well. I mean, it's also helpful to include that integrated does not mean exclusive. Like Coinbase very well could have gone the full centralized route, and they have their own chain and everything is like stuck there. Like you can follow this roadmap or follow this trend while still ascribing to crypto native values of being permissionless, being open, like a rising tide lifts all boats. So that's interesting. If you're not following Gaby yet on Warpcaster on Twitter, you should be. I mean, you probably are, but you should be. I love it when you write. I felt like you went for a little while there without writing a whole lot after writing a whole lot before, and I was missing it. So
I went into the cave, but I think I'm coming back out.
Let's go.
I have another one actually that I was thinking of as I was preparing for this pod, and I don't want to skip us ahead. I keep doing this because I'm just getting really excited. I love it. I want to write something about like no on-ramp required of a lot of cool crypto experiences that are happening and hitting mass market. Yeah, you can include an on-ramp, but like it's really not even a part of the experience. We'll get to it with the Stripe thing, but
I think the Zora thing is actually
Zora thing too
to move into, really, right? I think
tell me more.
You're a segue machine here.
This is quite incredible.
Moving right along.
So I think, dropping this here because I think there's a couple things that Zora is working on. The main one is being sort of like the much touted mobile app, right? That I think the team's been working on for quite a while. We've seen some little screenshots. I still haven't been able to get my hands on it yet, so I can't talk about it in any specifics. But I think clearly the right way to look at Zora is sort of as a social network now. You put it in a similar box as Farcaster or Lens, that, the following, the ability to follow, the ability to sort of have a profile. I think moving to mobile is going to make it a much more social feeling experience. Obviously, it's something we're pretty excited about with Enjoy, and you can sort of see the parallels there. But I think I think Jacob had a pretty good tweet today or yesterday, just talking about the imagination machine, the idea that you can upload your imagination, no crypto required, and if people come and mint it, all of a sudden there's crypto in your wallet, and you're in the on-chain world. And I think you're very right. That's incredibly powerful. It is actually the first time, this idea of being able to go and do something that doesn't require you to have a wallet, doesn't require you to have crypto, but could result in crypto coming into your wallet and you being, an on-chain interactor. The only other way to do that before was through speculation, right? The desire to go buy some crypto and be a part of this. And so I think it is a pretty transformative idea. I think it does sort of tie into the broader trend that we'll talk about with Stripe. I think that makes me incredibly bullish, because it still is the biggest barrier to getting people in. It's like you have to get in, and reducing that barrier is big. So yeah, I think keep it, that Zora as a social network is the right framing to kind of think about that platform as. And again, everything leads back to distribution here, right? It's you have the eyeballs, you have the people doing the thing, you're in the transaction flow. There's probably a pretty big business to build here. Oh, I think you're muted, Gaby. Can you hear her piece?
No.
Can you hear me now?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we got you.
Oh, sorry about that. I'm curious for both of you guys, but especially Peace. I'm just very curious about your brain with all of this. For me, so far, Think Things has been kind of like a higher signal version of bookmarking. And that's sort of how I've been using it, especially with writing. Like if I see a piece that I really like and I bookmark it on Twitter, I'm definitely never going to find it again. But if I mint it, then it's something that I've at least signaled in my head, like this is something that I want to come back to. And it was very cool as you were scrolling through. I couldn't tell if it was FVCKRENDER's collection or just all of the NFTs that he owns, like 20 minutes ago. And it was really cool because you get a good sense of his, like, let's say it's on Zora, you get a good sense of like his identity and the stuff that he's into by scrolling through it. And like that as a social network is so cool. And I was just thinking to myself, like, wow, I wonder what it looks like if I'm scrolling through mine. Like, is it mostly writing that I've collected or funny memes? And it's very cool to kind of see the social network.
Bring it up, Piece. Let's sweep her wallet. Let's sweep her wallet.
Okay.
Then I want to see pieces too.
All right, let's see. So wait, are you Gaby Goldberg?
I think it might. No, it's Gaby.Eth.
Gaby.Eth. Nice. Four.
I got lucky. I actually got lucky.
It's so true though. You really do get like such a nice. Okay.
Yeah, see, so it's a lot of writing.
She got her FAR card.
Nice.
FarCon passes.
Some based stuff.
You get such a view of like what people are interested in though.
Go to the very bottom piece. I want to see what the beginning of Gaby's.
Okay, this is an old wallet. You've been rocking this. Oh my God, since 21.
Well, I'm nervous.
We need to let's get.
Hey, there's my New Yorker.
Nice. Is this the Crypto Venetian?
I think I have one below that. If you keep going down, I think. Unless that's the bottom.
This is as far as Zora's indexing, at least.
Oh, interesting.
I'm not sure how they do their profiles, but it does seem selective on what they surface.
Click that follow button, Piece. Give her a follow. Let's be social here. Oh, okay. Well, there we go. Nice and easy. I love it. You're just letting us deep dive your wallet.
It's so true though. Like the no on-ramping required for Zora is so true. I hadn't even thought about it when I created that stupid crypto that came meme. And the business model I think is so interesting. I'm curious how long this business model lasts. So basically you have gas fees that are very low enough that you can tack a small marginal fee on top, and it all kind of blends into one when you mint it. And you don't even think that a piece of that is going. I mean, maybe some people do, but it doesn't feel even like royalties because it's so small. But I wonder, as gas fees compress more and more towards zero, how long that business model can stay before you start to notice it a little bit more.
For sure. I think people already do maybe notice it a little. I think people are more intentional with their mints from it.
I think that's a good thing, though.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, it feels like it's an important part of it. But I agree. I don't know how long it lasts. Yeah. But my gut is it lasts longer because it feels like, we talk a lot about sort of high value actions, right? And that there's actually a meaningful difference between somebody who like just goes and clicks a link and shows up on a website versus somebody who's actually buying something. And if you can have a small fee associated with it, the quality of the social graph, the user, et cetera, feels like it raises a bit. So I think as long as there's like valuable things on the other end of that, people are going to be very willing to pay those fees. And I'm not sure that value needs to be purely financial. I think it could be identity based, et cetera. Pieces are
this is beautiful painting. I love this artist. Noah Vera, I think is how their name is pronounced.
Oh yeah, people are going to be deep diving your Zora here because it is. I mean, this is incredible.
There's some.
The SEC homepage one is so good.
Oh, nice. Thank you. Yeah, Cheryl's like, we have to make their branding. We have to make their branding kit.
You scrolled past my favorite enjoyment of all time. Second favorite.
This one.
One more.
Oh yeah. This is such a blessing. This is like one of the best gifts the internet has given back to me. Honestly, it's like it's just I don't know. I like when there's no barrier. People are just gonna do what they're gonna do. It's beautiful.
All right, let's jump ahead. Maybe we'll just flag in this post because I think I saw actually it's at the top of one of your collects, Gaby. Kyle from Daylight has been on this kick around, which I think is sort of pushing back against a fairly common trope that I think is becoming less and less true in crypto, which is that crypto UX sucks and it's going to continue to suck and it's going to be the big barrier to entry. And he made, I think, a pretty good set of arguments around the idea that actually we're getting close to where Web3 UX is actually just going to be better than Web 2, where you're not going to need to have to sign in and get your auth code and do all this sort of stuff to actually be able to use these apps. And talks a lot about some of the things that you mentioned in your post about sort of the embedded wallets, sort of the sort of integration of many of these things into a more sort of seamless experience, called out Capsule specifically, which is an embedded wallet that kind of allows you to bring your identity across multiple different applications. So you don't have to have individual addresses for each application. Talks about smart contract accounts, talks about open social graphs and how all these sort of three things come together in a way that might actually make the user experience significantly better. Passkeys, not needing to actually enter a password. And I think this is what we've been feeling for a while. Like if you go to Bracket Game, if you want to go and participate in the NHL or the NBA, sort of brackets that are happening there, you could send that to anybody and they'd be able to sign up for it. This is not a big barrier. It still has the barrier of you needing to have some crypto to get in, but again, that's a thing that I think is pretty solvable for them and definitely on the roadmap. So it sort of ends this post by saying crypto wins because it makes the internet more usable and every Web 2 app will be forced to adapt. Finally, we have a rational answer to why build this on crypto. So I love that he's in his Think Boy era here. Kyle's out here hustling. Hope he's in the chat. But well done. The big news this was like the hot news in the consumer crypto channel. People were incredibly excited. I was complaining about being on a Twitter Spaces about scaling and mass adoption, and it all talked about Lightning Network. And I was like, well, who the fuck is building on Lightning Network? Like nobody, give me a break. But ultimately, people love payments. The idea of just being able to do the simple, easy thing, which is like transact in crypto, but not have to do it purely in an on-chain way, kind of a big deal. So Stripe has announced that you can now accept and pay with crypto alongside your credit card as part of their core product they rolled out earlier this week. Solana bros were very excited to see Solana transactions happening on a big Silicon Valley stage. Kudos to them. USDC being the tool here. But I think it was a year or even more ago, I was having a few drinks with a developer who's working on the Stripe team, and they have a big plan here, right? This is a big part of the future of their business. I think it's safe to say the idea that right now an incredible amount of fees are going to credit card providers. That hurts small merchants. It actually, it's a tax on everything that you buy. It's those loyalty rewards that you're getting are not free. You're paying for them. You just don't see it. And so the ability to do this in a much more lower fee environment is actually a pretty big unlock. Opens up some other challenges, chargebacks, etc. I'm not sure how they're handling that, but sounds like you're most excited about the fact that there's just going to be a bunch of merchants out there who all of a sudden have crypto, and should they want to, and maybe this is back to the Bitcoin pizza days. People can just start to earn and be a part of this without having to take a more specific step.
Yeah, we were just talking about Capsule. I am optimistic, and I predict that down the line, Stripe will integrate an embedded wallet for this flow also to help with this. So maybe people do want to start paying in crypto.
I want to pay in crypto
wallet and do that.
These two worlds feel like they're separated by meaningful borders right now, and border guards that are full of friction, and excited to have that disappear. So cool, crypto. Getting the dubs. We're back, baby. Okay, I want to make sure we have time for the lightning round here. Zombie chains is just a post that I think I saw it on Forbes. I saw it on Laura Shin tweeting it out, just talking about the billions of dollars in market cap that these zombie chains have out there. I think this is actually related to the top of our conversation here as well, where there's these. As you scroll down, I think they list out the sort of specific ones that they included in here. But the idea is that 20 blockchains collectively have a market capitalization of more than $100 billion, representing about 4.7% of the current market cap. Talking about Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin, ICP, Ethereum Classic, EOS, Tezos. Huge treasuries, huge market caps, a ton of volume happening, and yet like tens of dollars of fees and 3 or 5 commits a week maximum on the GitHub around sort of the building here. So I think this is an example of the value of distribution and attention in an era where that looked like L1s kind of being the hot thing, and a lot of people got in early. A lot of people have their identity tied up into this. There's pure speculative games that are happening here, and it's representing meaningful value. And I think there's probably a few of us who haven't looked at that top 100 market cap or tokens on CoinGecko and been like, how the fuck are these things still up here? And yet they're here, and they may remain here. And I think there's insight in there.
It is kind of interesting. I thought this article was kind of funny. Like the article to classify whether or not a blockchain is a zombie, they said they're unproven and have little utility other than for speculative crypto trading. And I was kind of like, LOL, like, okay.
That's the thing.
Right.
The entire industry.
Right. So I was just curious, like, how they measure utility. And obviously a lot of it I do agree with, but like one call out, I was kind of surprised to see Arweave listed as a zombie chain. It's like one of the core pieces.
Shots fired.
Like one of the core pieces of decentralized file storage infra. And people actually use it, and it actually works. Like anytime you mint something on Mirror, it's on Arweave. So many NFTs.
These things are working
on Arweave.
These things are working.
So I don't know. I also saw a really funny comment like on all these tweets about this. It was like a picture of the chart of all the zombie blockchains, and someone's like, WTF, where'd they get a screenshot of my portfolio?
Damn. This is e-gold. It's like, it's almost too new to be a zombie.
I mean, that was my other comment too. It's
not
like
fair.
some of these things have barely been around.
This rocks.
Oh, Mina, shots fired on Mina team. I love
dude. No Digibyte, not gonna make it. Forbes.
What's Dentacoin doing these days?
Yeah, no kidding. I'm gonna go some ETH Classic on PayPal after this.
We're at the top of the hour. Give me one lightning round here, and we'll send people on their way. I think John's tweet is probably perfect.
Amazing.
You stand out a little bit. Okay. What's the cash on this? Oh yeah.
I built a new protocol. Help! Is anyone a new user? Meme coins are bad. They're undermining the industry. Meme coins are fun. Meme coins and emergent behavior I'm reserving judgment for now. Meme coins are boring. Fuck A16Z. I built a new protocol. Oh, that's great. We'll save them. I'll save your protocol. I'll use it. I'll attack it with transaction fees.
Let's go. Gaby, appreciate you hanging out with us today. Very excited to see you next week. Excited to see all of you. Again, we're going to do a live recording of Internet Explorers next Friday at 10 a.m. at the FarCon venue. Very excited to have you join us. We'll be a little bit more loud about that. So if you are interested in coming to hang out, we'd love to see you there. Also, free Wi-Fi, airplane mode. You're going to be part of the FarCon welcome dinner. Shout out to the FarCon organizing team. It's going to be an incredible event. Looking forward to some more sunshine. It's been a great couple days here in Vancouver. Going to go get my tan on by standing under fluorescent lights for 3 days.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
going to be great. I think that's it. Gaby, appreciate you. Looking
Thank
forward
you
to
so
seeing
much.
Thank
So
you.
fun.
And I guess we'll see the rest of you on chain.
Awesome. Ciao for now.
Yes.